We gotta talk about this. Surveillance all over the place.
Yes, we do need to talk about this once and for all. Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to put myself through a new definition of intellectual suffering because I'm going to dive into TikTok's most insane animal conspiracies, starting with the idea that pigeons aren't real.
We gotta talk about this. Surveillance all over the place. I don't think y'all realize how many videos is really out there of these pigeons getting caught on camera, and they're surveillance pigeons. They're fake robot pigeons, bro. I spoke about this a while ago.
I mean, they look like fake AI pigeons to me, but what do I know?
Sometime last year, and I just keep on seeing new video after new video of people catching on camera these fake pigeons, bro, with surveillance in them. I do this for educational and entertainment purposes only. I want y'all to see this video right here.
No. Get ready, guys. What is this about?
It's getting spooky, bro.
Why is there wires on that pigeon? What happened? What is this? Who is that? Where is it going? Shh.
Don't be mad at
What
me.
is that about?
Be mad at the truth.
Why is connected
I do
to
this
a
for
pigeon?
educational and entertainment purposes only, man.
So we imagine these sophisticated biodrones have a shitload of wires hanging out the back?
You've never seen a baby pigeon because birds aren't real and some have been spying on you. The use of pigeons for communications dates back thousands of years, but it was
That's true.
World War I that they began to be used for intelligence gathering. In the 1970s, during the Cold War, the CIA employed pigeons equipped with miniature cameras to collect intelligence under Operation Takana. The agency's Office of Research and Development engineered a camera so small and light that it could be mounted on a pigeon's chest using a harness.
So the second guy there is factually correct, and that's the kind of kernel of truth that starts off conspiracy theories. And it, they did indeed use pigeons with little cameras on their chests, as ridiculous as it sounds, to spy on people. Now today, the idea that feral pigeons are randomly being implanted with cameras and surveillance technology and, circuit boards, etc., that makes a great AI video to take off on social media. But the idea that it's true and that the government is using that as a technique, it's really way off. Like I said, there's always a kernel of truth, and some pigeons do indeed carry microchips, but they're little RFID chips. People who race pigeons, they'll put a leg band on the pigeon with an RFID chip in. It's got the pigeon's number. When the pigeon finishes its race, it lands on the platform. The nearby dedicated antenna reads the ID, and that's about as much as that RFID chip carries. It can't carry out surveillance, it can't take photos, it can't spy on you. And really, if we're really realistic, if we start to use our brains, for example, would a government really use pigeons, masses of biodrones, to surveil the population? Or would it use the amazingly sophisticated drones it already has and your mobile phone that you carry everywhere in your pocket?
Almost every family has a panda.
That is a big fat lie. Pandas do not exist. They don't exist in people's homes. They don't exist in the wild, but they do exist in the zoo.
Every time I see one of these videos, I do hope that it's satire. Some of them may even be satire, but I've researched every conspiracy theory in this video, and there are genuinely people who believe it.
The first panda to be discovered was in the 1920s, and the first panda to be brought over to the US was in the 1930s by this woman. And you know how I feel about women. So you're telling me in over 4,000 years of Chinese history, they've never seen pandas until the 1920s? Bro, even in the Chinese zodiac, they have a dragon. Dragons are real, but pandas aren't. They've been lying to you about animals. This is called a fake animal. They have fake animals in zoos just to gain popularity, gain money, gain traction. But look at this picture. That's a stuffed animal.
There have been instances of people in suits pretending to be pandas and other such scandals in some zoos in China, but China's a huge place. You can't just say this is happening in one part of China, therefore it's happening in every zoo in China. That's a real stretch.
But they make you think it's real. The majority of pandas you see in zoos are just fake. They're animatronics, they're puppets, they're people in fursuits. They use everything they can to make you believe pandas are real, and they get so much funding for it. But you will never find amateur footage of them in the wild. You'll get Animal Planet, you'll get nature photos, videos of people who run the show or whatever?
Well, the major problem is that there aren't many pandas in the wild, and they never were particularly numerous to begin with.
And they'll make fake videos of it, but you'll never see amateur videos of it. You will never discover a panda in the wild. You're telling me this animal only eats one thing. It can only eat, and it only mates one time a year. Bro.
It's a highly specialized, very rare animal, and the people of China have a lot of reverence for it, and they have an interest, the Chinese government has an interest in keeping the panda population as healthy as possible and breeding as many as possible, and they have used in the past what we called panda diplomacy, lending them out to zoos in the US and trying to build ties with conservation groups and even governments in other countries by using the panda as kind of like a goodwill thing, if you like. So the idea that they're fake, I mean, in China, I think if there was widespread evidence of fake pandas, I think it would become a national scandal.
This family started to believe their dog might be a skinwalker. At first, it was just small things, odd movements, a blank stare, a low growl for no reason. But then it got really unsettling. They noticed she was standing and moving on two legs more and more.
The dog might have had a blank stare because what it was getting from its humans was a blank stare also.
Almost like a person. The other dogs were terrified of her and would run away. One day, when they got home, they saw her sitting on the front steps in a completely unnatural, almost human pose. The second they got closer, she dropped back down onto all fours like nothing had happened. The family decided to test her using something they found online. They poured a circle of salt around her. If she stepped out, everything was fine. But if she stayed inside, it meant she was a skinwalker. The scariest part? She didn't move at all. She just sat there, perfectly still. Then the owner asked, "Are you a skinwalker?" And at that exact moment, a strange sound came out of her mouth, something that didn't sound like a dog at all. After that, they took her deep into the woods. They knew that when a skinwalker sheds its skin, it becomes extremely dangerous. And that meant the real horror was way closer than they ever thought.
Wow. I've got to admit at this point I'm slacking on cryptid knowledge. I know that's terrible, but I didn't know exactly what a skinwalker is. I looked it up. Apparently it's a shape-shifting witch in Navajo culture, I believe. I hope I've got that right. So this is in no way a disrespect to that kind of culture or legend persisting and being told as a story, but I am going to criticize people for thinking that their adorable little poodle or whatever it was is a skinwalker just because it exhibits some human-like characteristics and postures even. Dogs are dogs. They aim to please. They want to do whatever makes you happy. They can even read human expressions. They like to go up on two legs if it gets a reaction from you. They'll do anything that gets a reaction from you, in fact. And just because they are a dog, it doesn't mean they can't sit down like a human on the step.
Look at this video of this octopus. It's crawling over to a small hole in the corner of the boat, and it uses it to squeeze through and escape. These creatures are so intelligent that some scientists actually suggest that they're aliens. Now, they base this theory on the fact that the octopus have these incredibly unique genes. They can quickly camouflage into their surroundings, and some species can even imitate other marine life to confuse predators. Now, if these creatures are aliens, you might be wondering how they got to Earth. It's simple. A meteorite carrying frozen octopus eggs landed in the ocean about 500 million years ago. Which, I know, it's crazy, but you watch them move around in these videos and tell me they don't look like an alien.
We're going to get into the details of what those scientists said in a second, but this next clip is going to illustrate just how widespread the octopuses are aliens idea has become, and how incredibly ridiculous as well.
One of the civilizations that came from the stars to Earth many, many millions of your years ago left behind genetics because they were genetic experimentalists.
These fucking maniacs have one goal in life, and that's to mop up your money like a sponge.
And they left behind genetics from the laboratories they had created in various places near oceans on your planet that gave rise to the being you know as the octopus.
Oh, yeah.
What they left behind to see how it would evolve in your earthly environment. They themselves looked a little bit like that.
A little bit.
Not exactly like an octopus, but more like the octopus than like what you look like.
So a group of scientists did publish a peer-reviewed paper citing the incredible genetic and molecular differences of octopuses vis-a-vis other, sea life and life on Earth in general. And they posited that it may be because DNA or viruses arrived with comets, or they even said that possibly a cephalopod egg may have arrived already fertilized in the ice in a comet and started off the Cambrian diversification of certain animals and the advent of cephalopod diversity. And this really leads me to think that we need to stop having this attitude that anything peer-reviewed is gospel. It doesn't mean it's gospel, it means that they met the criteria of that paper to publish this kind of review argument paper that they did. That doesn't mean you have to agree with it. I think this is a really stupid idea. I think there's no genuine, solid genetic evidence of extraterrestrial DNA within octopuses, squids, or any of their relatives. I believe that they are of this Earth, but they're just very specialized, very intelligent, and they are absolutely remarkable, but they are very much mollusks, and their ancestors way back were probably quite worm-like, in fact. The reason that this bothers me the most, I think, is that, in my opinion, it shows intellectual weakness. There's fascinating, amazing things on this Earth that have amazingly difficult to understand evolutionary pathways. Biology is hard. Understanding evolutionary theory can be hard. Science in general, I find quite hard. And admitting that these topics is hard is also quite hard if you've got a big ego. And I think it shows intellectual weakness to just say, I don't understand this, so I'm going to make this leap and I'm going to say, you know what, maybe it came down in a comet, maybe it's alien. And that's not how life works. Life is hard, and sometimes we don't understand everything perfectly. Sometimes there are things that are just incredible. It doesn't mean it's aliens, so. No, not the creepy dolphin now. So this is a supposedly evil dolphin wanting to eat people's children. Could also be a dolphin playing who knows that there's glass in front of it.
Dolphins are insanely evil because even though they look adorable, the truth is that these are some of the most malicious creatures on Earth. About a year ago, Leia told me that they used to be her favorite animal until she found out the truth about them. So I started doing research and oh my gosh. First, they think everything is a toy. Not just beach balls like you see at SeaWorld, but also things like baby sharks and
torturing them by
sending them back and forth. Not to mention, they're basically the ocean equivalent of wolves as they hunt in packs and are extremely dangerous. But the worst thing about dolphins is their mating habits. And by that, I mean they will forcefully mate with whoever they want. This includes kidnapping female dolphins for sometimes weeks and chasing them or smacking them with their tail if they try to get away. And sometimes even killing baby dolphins just so they can mate with their mothers. Also, they sometimes do it to humans. And they have a bunch of STDs. Okay, hey, at least they look cool jumping alongside ships, right? That way you can take pictures of the sea predators. Sorry if they're your favorite animal, but now you know why.
Okay, admittedly, what he said is actually true. Dolphins do a lot of things that to humans would seem evil, and it's very easy for us humans to think of them as emotional, intentional beings because they do have a big brain, they're very intelligent, and the shape of their brain is actually quite reminiscent of that of the human brain. However, evil is a human concept, and the way I think of dolphins is that they aren't evil, they're actually tactical. They do tactical things for survival. Sometimes that's ugly, and what humans would have done thousands of years ago would also be ugly. We'll see dolphins do evil stuff like catch a porpoise and kill it and fling it around. Play is an important part of, hunting and practicing, but also killing a porpoise is an important part of being a dolphin. If a porpoise is in your area eating your fish, you can't mate with it, it's not another dolphin, it's not in your pod. So kill it. That's tactical. That's how it works. That's how survival works. It doesn't mean they're evil. They don't have morality like we have. They have the idea, are my offspring going to live or not? And that's it.
Dinosaurs never existed. So you've got these bones, you've got these fossils, supposedly. And they supposedly date back millions of years. And then I think it's a bunch of nerds constructing this fantasy world that they think is awesome. Like, how do you know what the skin of a pterodactyl looked like? How do you know what it sounded like?
The truth is with dinosaurs that people don't just want to create a fantasy world, they actually spend years and years studying, and they look for little differences and little similarities between animals past and present, and we'll look at one of those similarities between birds and dinosaurs in a moment.
Do you believe there ever was dinosaurs?
No.
No?
No.
even though there's fossils found.
There's not fossils found. The things they've told you are dinosaurs as an evolutionary thing. Again, it's just another. If you go into any of these
dinosaur museums,
they're resin. They tell you that the bones are too fragile. They keep them in the vault, and they've created a resin structure, so you never get to see the bones. And you only
see the skeleton. You don't see the flesh anyway.
Yeah, exactly. The giant human thing throws a massive spanner in the works of the evolution nonsense. Yeah,
I kind of get it. Like, there's people who are very much see it to believe it, and that's fair enough. But there are similarities, like I spoke about, between dinosaurs and modern birds, and they're quite hard to ignore. For example, there are non-avian theropod dinosaurs which had a furcula, or furculae, plural, and that is the wishbone. Even on a T-Rex, you see the beginning of a wishbone. On more closely related dinosaurs, more closely related to birds, that is, like the velociraptor, you see a more developed wishbone or furcula. And the fact that you can look at a skeleton of a modern bird and a dinosaur, a non-avian theropod dinosaur, and see a very similar structure is a real telltale sign. However, why do people like this get so worked up? Because there is also the case that our interpretation of dinosaurs over time has changed. The iguanodon, for example, they got it famously wrong at first. They thought it had its spike on its nose. We now know it was on its thumbs, or, its approximation of thumbs. Over time, how they perceived its appearance and its posture changed alongside our understanding and the completeness of skeletons found. So to an observer who doesn't like the idea of dinosaurs to begin with, they see that and they think, well, you don't know what you're talking about. But the truth is that science evolves. Sorry for the pun there. So yes, the interpretation of how a dinosaur looks has changed over time. It probably will continue changing a little bit as the fossil record gets more complete. And that doesn't mean dinosaurs didn't exist. It simply means that our understanding is lagging behind what the truth really is. But the truth is never that fantastic. A big dinosaur conspiracy is not likely. Dinosaurs being fascinating and needing a little bit more work to understand fully, that is a much more likely scenario. So what have we learned today when it comes to conspiracy theories and animals? Aside from the fact that I really fucking hated watching some of these, we've learned that many of these conspiracy theories have a kernel of truth in them, and this really just illustrates the importance to me of people like you watching videos like this, joining in the comments and telling your friends, I've got this idea about such and such, and discussing things. That's always important, and science is important to further our understanding of everything, basically. So, if you enjoyed this, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next week.